Hello. Good afternoon, all of you. Great to see you. This is an impressive audience. Great to see you here. Great that you took your time to digest your lunch. Obviously, I hope you had some, and that you came by here at our booth. I hope you can understand me a bit. You can move closer. So, shall I move somewhere else? Okay, so warm welcome to the official IDSA booth reception. We have, well, impressive things to show, and it shall not be me or IDSA, but our members, our partners, our friends to show what we have done the last years. So I think for most of you it's well, a precious and historic moment in time to reconvene after the years of Corona. So it's really good to see faces, real people, and to see all of you here. And so let us give you a brief overview, a broad overview of what IDSA has done in the last 2 years of virtual work behind the screens. So now we unveil what has been produced, and great to be here. So I would like to hand over for a short warm welcome also from the IDSA board. On behalf of the IDSA board, we have Andre Nehmat, and well, he's one of the guys who's not well, has not the strong footprint in industrial world, but the more he can tell us why we need data spaces. So, Andre, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Ralph. A warm welcome from my side in behalf of the board members of the IDSA. Actually, what Lars did not mention is I am a physician, I'm a medical doctor, and it's always good to have a doctor in such a large booth in crisis, in pandemia crisis, of course. You're not wearing masks, so I'm crossing my fingers that we have no spreading event here. But if so, you know where to find a good doctor. Data spaces will be the upcoming theme in healthcare area as well. The European Union just launched the data spaces in the healthcare environment, and so we are looking forward to implement the IDSA standard as well in our healthcare businesses, which is quite premature yet. But as I always used to say, healthcare is like New York. If you can make it there, you can make it everywhere. And for this, I invite you to join our booth. And
okay, we can derive very clear criteria so that you can even make the proof point that you've built a data space which is built according to the reference architecture and the rulebook. This is done with the IDS certification scheme. And then, well, you also have to realize it. You have to code, you have to bring it in place, and therefore we have a portfolio of open source building blocks, not built by IDSA, but by our members. We make sure that this portfolio is visible, that you can have access to it, and that you can reuse components. And what we make sure that this triangle works is in line, and that we have a very clear, transparent release management from one reference architecture version to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. And today we will officially launch the reference architecture model 4, so the new version of the reference architecture, and according to that also the certification scheme. And we will from now on start in a very clear release cycle. We will release a major release every year and minor releases very in an agile mode, like every month. So we have changed a lot in how we come up with the reference architecture. Sebastian Steinbus, our CTO, will explain more about that. So no longer just paperwork, it will be on a Git book, so that you can continuously interact with that. So this is the storyline. Next slide, please. And that is what you can see on our booth. So the right part are or display the core assets for trustworthy data sharing, because that is what IDSA is all about. How to bring trust into data spaces. And as I mentioned, we have the magic triangle, and we see the assets of IDSA over there, the reference architecture model, the test bed, and the certification scheme. Well, it's like in a museum, right? So this is something which lasts forever, which represents the standard. And then, well, you want to use it. You want to see it in life, out in the wild. And therefore, we have the arrows. And here, on these exhibits, you can see what has happened using all these core assets. So where are the data spaces which are live? And that is what we will show now. Next slide, please. And we have some members of our association, and they have impressive exhibits here, and they will explain later what they have done and what you can see there and why this is such a cool thing. Next slide. And this is next slide. Next. We need the list of people. Yeah, this one. Thanks. So now I would like to hand over to the pitches of our co-exhibitors. So I don't want to bother you with all the details on IDSA. Most of you are very familiar with it, and that is why we are here. And the whole team, get in touch with us if you want to know more about the core assets of IDSA. We are happy to let you know more. So all IDSA head office team members, raise your hand, please. So these are all the girls and guys which can give you any idea, any hint about IDSA. Get in touch with them. And thanks to all of you for supporting us here for the great booth. Thank you very much. Great to have you here. And as well as great to have all our co-exhibitors here. We have Sovity, a startup from our ecosystem, and Sebastian Kleff, the CEO and co-founder, is here and can show you what they have done, and they have brought data spaces to life and technology which you can reuse today. This is cool. Then I'm really happy that we can show mobility data space. I would say this is a best in class data space. So I'm talking about data spaces since more than 6 years now, and finally we have seen them growing, being nurtured, and now they are not only alive and kicking, they are kicking a lot. They are really a success. And Michael Schäfer, the CEO of Mobility Data Space GmbH, is with us. I'm so happy. Thank you. not only for being here, but also for letting us know about the next steps of mobility data space. So this is really up and running, it's live. And so finally, what we've done the last 6 years can be witnessed there. So then we are on Hannover Fair industrial rearm. So we have to show something on digital twins and asset administration shell, and this is what you expect here, right? So that is done by Thomas Usländer and all the colleagues from Fraunhofer IOSB, Liliana also, where are here? Hello. So great to have you here, and we also have the industrial community of IDSA, and there's a new position paper out there. We will show it later on. There it is, Thomas. A lot to show on that end, and a cool demonstrator. Then, well, more and more data spaces are arising. Jürgen Bredfeld from Advaneo, wherever he is, he will. So he's a pioneer of data spaces from the very first day. And they will today officially launch the resilience and sustainability data space. So, well, a bit different than what we know so far from mobility sector, energy sector, health. And you will learn more on that. Then the colleagues from T-System will show what they have done in the context of Catena-X. They will present the Real Labor Hamburg. So I'm happy that my dear friends Sven Löffler and Chris Langdon show what they have been doing. And finally, we can show not only data spaces, but how data spaces are interconnected. Data spaces on different countries, even on different continents, how they work together. And TNO has done a lot in the Netherlands with a smart connected supplier network. Now it has been this data space with several hundred companies adhering to this data space is now connected to a similar of a similar size data space in Japan with NTT and other colleagues like Omron, and this will also be connected with Catena-X. So this is obviously the vision. So the data space is 2.0 thing. So I stop talking here. I could talk for hours. I'm here for hours, so you can get in touch with me. I'm happy to answer all your questions, and I will hand over to the pitches of our co-exhibitors, and I start in this sequence. Sebastian Kleff from Sovity. Well, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Lars. Hi everybody, and thank you also for the opportunity presenting today the demonstrator we developed over the past months. My name is Sebastian Kleff. I'm co-founder of Sovity, and we basically bring data spaces to life by technology like connectors. And yeah, this is the video of our. Maybe I take away my phone. This is the demonstrator we built over the last months, and we have a couple of achievements which we want to present here. It's a joint undertaking with TNO, with SCSN, Lars mentioned already, supply chain network from the Netherlands, together with NTT, the colleagues from Japan, and Omron. And here we basically connected 3 different data spaces into one data consumption. So it's not anymore one data space and exchanging data within one data space. We now have connected 3 different data spaces, means 3 different technologies as well in 3 different countries. So you see the content around this is CO2 emissions. So we have Omron as industrial player providing data on CO2 from machines, from products, which we then gather and visualize. You see on the left hand side, this is the Dutch data space SCSN, also collecting data from Omron. We have the Japanese data space, also collecting CO2 machine data, and then in the middle the German data space, which is the Sovity connector collecting this data and visualizing it. Why is this so impressive? Because over the last month we had a couple of discussions around interoperability. How does it work in a larger scale? How does it work beyond borders? And this is what we have shown. We achieved interoperability between 2 different versions of connectors. So we have the IDS connector on the left-hand side here, which collects data, but then also we have 2 different TNO connectors in Japan and Netherlands. And they are a different technology, quite similar, of course, all based on IDS, but we enabled the interoperability between those. And this was, a quite impressive undertaking, I would say, over the last weeks and months, and we're looking forward to continue this journey. So already talked to a lot of colleagues today, and the next steps will probably be also connecting Eclipse to those kind of data spaces. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. You will be with us today, so please get in touch with him. Sovity has, well, a really cool offering, and they can help you make really data spaces happen. Now, I'm really happy that Michael Schäfer, that you made it here. Mobility data space, this is definitely the North Star, I would say, for data spaces. And well, we all know about the mobility data space, but from first hand, I'm really happy to hear your insights. And I think you have a lot of news to announce. So the stage is yours, Michael.
All right, thank you very much, Lars. And of course, not to you only, but also to the team. Thank you very much having the opportunity to present here and also to share our news and our information. So, what would you expect from a data space? What the hell are these guys with yellow ribbons doing here? And what's our offer? So what's in for you? So let's look at those questions. Next one, please. So first one, what would you expect from a data space, whether it's mobility data space or finance or education or culture, whatever it is? You would expect that there are companies offering data, others who are consuming the data. Of course, it's also about services. So you can offer services and you can consume services. And finally, it's about community, and that is what you have seen before. When Lars presented all the speakers here, it's a community, isn't it? We know each other. So as soon as you hit the floor of that hall, you know each other, right? You could also say it's a big frightened family, we are. And hopefully in the future we are not frightened anymore, but that is what we are right now. All right, next one, please. So when we now dive into the details of that big frightened family, of the data sharing community, so what would be your expectations? What would be the core values? So at the first place, funny enough, it's not about data, it's about business. It's funny because it's true, right? So you're not sharing or exchanging or trading data because of the sake of it, right? So you want to make business, or you want to make the world better, or whatever it is. You want to adhere to laws. So in order to get there, you want to share the data. So the driver is value creation. How are you going to do that? So again, networking. So community is everything. We will come to that later. Trust is a very important topic when you exchange data, right? So you want to trust the people you're trading with. You want to trust the data you are producing, consuming. Then you need good or best or excellent support, for instance, like we have seen from companies like Sovity. And of course, we are now in 2022 in the area of the Wild West of data sharing. So what you can see is that companies are making claims. So we're not there yet, right? So we need to work hard together, again, as a community, to streamline that, to make a convergence in the innovation. And finally, again, we do that to grow a brand new business, a brand new economy. That's what you would call the platform and data economy. So and that is the principle of that what we are offering. And if you are very creative, you see the IDSA reference architecture model. Who can see it? Yeah, Sebastian, no, not a miracle. Sure, so the principle is that we run a data catalog which is hosted centrally, and the data exchange is then done from peer to peer. And that is how we implement the trust the trust in each other, trading partners, and the trust in the data. Next one. So, and it's Lars already raised the bar. We are already up and running, and that is very much in order to prove that. That is the data that is already available in the mobility data space. And that is also the reason why we say, at least in the scope of Germany, we are the one-stop shop for mobility data. So if you guys are looking out for some sort of mobility data in order to implement your brand new, all innovative, crazy service, stop looking for it. Just join the mobility data space. Everything you need is there. So, and as we have mentioned before, Lars has mentioned that, Sebastian has mentioned that, community and data sharing family is very important, and so it is for us. So of course we say we are the first and so far only open mobility data space in Germany. We would appreciate very, very much other initiatives like ours to be developed and to be grown in other parts of Europe. And if ever possible, following the same principles and paradigms, implementing IDSA reference architecture so that those data spaces can join each other and the members can exchange data with each other. And that is the reason why we are here today and support that initiative. So, last but not least, in case I haven't convinced you yet, which might not be a miracle, you are very, very much invited to join us after the presentation. I have two young, famous, rich and beautiful and all talented colleagues over there with a yellow ribbon, and they can help you to get onboarded and join the data sharing community. Cheers.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, so, and let's not only join this community, let's really enlarge it, let's connect it with other countries. I know that some representatives from other countries are here, especially the colleagues from the Netherlands, from Spain, from Japan. Please, let's see that we make this a big one. Yeah, well, now the true industrial footprint of IDSA. Thomas Usländer from Fraunhofer IOSB from the very beginning with IDSA, leading our industrial community. Yeah, well, I hand over to you, Thomas. Thank you for your commitment. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Lars, for this introduction. So I'm representing here the IDS industrial community. We call it IDS industrial because industrial data space was already in the past. So IDS industrial is a community that we run for 2 years now. I'm from Fraunhofer IOSB. I'm co-chairing this community together with Andreas Teuscher of the SIG AG. So what we are doing is we are trying to bring together the ideas, the concepts, the visions of the platform industry 4.0 with those of IDSA. That is, the two reference architecture models, they have to coexist. There will be no unifying architecture, but they have to coexist. The specifications have to be compatible, and the solutions, of course, have to be interoperable. So that's the aim, what we want to do. In order to come to this objective, we are identifying use cases and analyzing the requirements for data sovereignty. So use cases coming here from the Industry 4.0 domain are analyzed towards what are the requirements for data sovereignty, especially usage control. So next slide, please. We have an impressive list of members of the IDS industrial community, and you are invited to join us. It's an open community. We have 46 companies all across the world, including Japan, Korea, and Italy, Spain, a lot of German members, also Microsoft. So that's very impressive, and it's a growing list of members. Next slide, please. And yeah, we have published 2 position papers. One last year about data sovereignty in the manufacturing domain in general, and now very fresh printed last week the position paper 2 about the requirements analysis of manufacturing use cases requirements on data sovereignty. So you can download that on the IDSA website. Next slide, please. And one of the important results is which aspects of usage control of data sovereignty have to be implemented first. Because you know data sovereignty is a very complex issue, and to enforce data sovereignty issues in total is very, very expensive. So it's very important to know where are the most important requirements. And you see that very clearly. Of course, access control is important, and then the fact to keep the data within the scope of the connectors, within the scope of those who have the access rights. This is the most important. There is no so much importance about anonymizing the data or guaranteeing that the data is being deleted after some period of time. So we did that with 3 reference use cases. Look at the position paper and give us some feedback. And thanks to all the co-authors, and some of them are here in this audience. And next slide, please. Okay, bringing together Industry 4.0 and IDS technologies means you need tools. You need tools to bridge this technology gap. And we have our Fraunhofer Advanced Asset Administration Shell Toolkit for Digital Twins, a very complex name, but a very easy short name, FAST. This is our offer. It's an open source toolkit that bridges the gap between Industry 4.0 and IDS. You can have more insights just going to our exhibit here. Liliana is there, Christian is there, and also our colleague Jens Müller is there. They will explain you that as part of a demonstrator. Next slide, please. You see here we have an example of a plant that produces also a product. Both assets have digital twins in form of asset administration shells, and we are using the FAST toolkit to access the data, but also to visualize that data. There's a fast visualization service. And of course, IDS is now looking towards how to support the Eclipse Data Space Connector. And we have that link already. We are also working in Eclipse Data Space Connector projects. So if you want to bridge all these gaps and have links to all these domains, just use the FAST toolkit, download it from GitHub. And if you have questions, just contact our colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. Very impressive. And really, let's have a look at this demonstrator. So everyone is talking about, okay, the Eclipse Data Space Connector, what is it, how can it be used, and how does it fit to IDS? Well, here it is done. So let's put all the questions to Thomas and Liliana. Thank you very much. And then now to something completely different. The resilience and sustainability data space. So you can really do a lot more with data, and a different notion on this will be presented by Jürgen Bredfeld from Advaneo. Please join me on stage.
So, yeah, let's start. Yeah, we try to make it online, live, no PowerPoints. So, in view of the global and local problems of the last years, and the fact that in future we have to deal with permanent problems and crisis situations, the issue is to build up a new system for resilience and sustainability, and we combine it with the data space approach from the IDSA. And there's no better place than here today on the Hannover Fair and the IDSA to launch such an data space, and one central building block of our new data space, space is our data marketplace. And here, live, we try to figure out what we can find concerning the keyword resilience. We see from our marketplace, where we have now around 2.4 million data sets, we can find around 2,000 impressions and for the resilience keyword. Can you go to the next? Additionally, key features of our data space, beside of the marketplace, are an online integrated AI workbench, a tool where we can build up open innovation with data tons, then also a tool where we can build up private rooms to build up own data sharing projects, and not at least our so-called trusted data hub, where we can bring in also data which normally no one wants to share. So it's safe, and we can bring all the data of different parties together. And this is also an additional approach. So this initiative is, let me say, it's a bottom-up initiative. We have started with partners from 2 research projects, and coming from Advaneo and Funk Group. And here are the first services and use cases. At first, with the supply chain radar coming from the research project pairs, companies can match their data with external events for crisis, and they can at the end build up earlier their reaction and can earlier build up new situations, new business models, or new supply chains. Then we have 2 real existing solutions from the Funk Group. At first, Remix. It's a risk management tool. And the second is a supply chain quick check. It's free, and you can use it also on our data space. Coming from Spell, they deal with also crisis management and further with the research project pairs, we in the focus build up solutions for dynamic crisis management, and Spell is different, is building up solutions for disaster management. So far, if you are interested in our approach, we are an open and cross-domain solution, and feel free to contact us, and you're welcome also to partner with our data space. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So it's not about sharing of mobility data or industrial data, so stable energy supply or for hospitals. This could also be use cases for data spaces. So let's enlarge our horizon and really have a look at what can be done with data spaces. So the next on stage will be the colleagues from T-Systems, Chris Langdon. So T-Systems is on stage throughout the last 6 years, so they have several offerings in the context of IDSA. They are deeply involved into Catena-X, into mobility data space, and they have a lot of tremendously impressive use cases. Chris, join me on stage and share some insights with us.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Hello to everybody. My name is Chris Langdon, and let me ask you, what is the most important vertical or sector in Germany, in the German economy? What do you think? Come on, what is going on? What? Automotive, mobility, and that community focused on automotive and mobility. And here it is, you can find it on the website, and not only words, but we have actually insights, knowledge, lessons learned. We do have a publication that we can point out. And let me extend the invitation. Everybody of you can contribute. If you think you have a great story, insight, lessons learned to share, come to me. You can be included in the next iteration of our publication. So automotive is the most important one, right? And we are currently involved in 2 key initiatives to do what? To save the world, right? How do we save the world? With applications, right? Nobody comes to us and says, I want a data space, right? What do we all want? Applications, use cases, right? There's a problem. We have to solve a problem, right? And if you look at automotive, do we have problems in automotive? Everything fine in automotive? Is everything fine in automotive? What are the big problems? Has anybody heard about the environment and climate change? And there's the federal minister, just, I think it's across the street, right? Talking about it. It's in its title. So climate change, very important. Reducing CO2 emissions, critical. And so, fortunately, the German industry came together in order to target this important problem head on. And the initiative is called Catena-X. If you may change that. Has anybody heard about that, Catena-X? One person has heard about it. Maybe a few more have heard about it. So, this is important effort. Why is it important? Because it is ultimately a use case driven effort. And it's focused on use cases that you cannot implement today. Why is that? Do we have any clues why that would be? Why can't we do it? Any ideas? A little more complicated? Yeah? What is it? The data is secret and there are issues with sharing data. Yeah, to put it in a broader context, it's data chains. So data chains, those new applications require data to be sequentially aligned. And as we cut across organizational boundaries, the problem is suddenly that we may have to share data that is typically considered as our core asset, right? It's a company secret, right? So for example, CO2 footprint, in order to calculate that, what you have to do, you have to have transparency across the entire supply chain. That doesn't exist today. Another use case, material traceability, right? Some machine is broken down, the faulty parts are put into a vehicle. If you can't trace it back, you have to recall what? The entire model year. Horrible, right? It just happened to General Motors, $2 billion, a lot of cost because you weren't able to trace it. So these are just 2 examples. And let me then probably conclude with another sector, mobility. That's another project we're involved in. That came out of the national platform, Future of Mobility, the sandbox of it called Reallabor. And here too, we were focusing on one interesting application that'll help us save CO2 emissions. We want to shift people out of their cars into intermodal mobility. That only works if it is very seamless, if it's easy to use from a consumer perspective. And ultimately, it does require a data chain, right? Companies have to share customer data across multiple mobility providers. That's very difficult. And now the punchline is that what is enabling data chains? What is the keyword we're all looking for? What is it? What's the key enablement for data chains? It's data spaces. All right. Thanks a lot for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Impressive as always. Good to have you. Thanks a lot. And well, keep moving. So I'm looking forward to the next domain which you will tackle, right? So let's keep our fingers crossed. So now back to industrial world, condition-based maintenance enabled by connectors. So I've mentioned it before. The interconnected data spaces will be presented by our colleagues from the Netherlands, from TNO, Joost, Adriaanse. A pleasure to have you here. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, we as TNO, I think, as Irene was mentioned, we are involved in a lot of different initiatives. But last year, our board of directives, I think on both sides, TNO and Fraunhofer, decided to provide some additional budget to do some research. And we continue with that this year because up until now, both TNO and Fraunhofer have built own connectors. But so we have different implementations running, and if it's all good, they interoperate. But what we have done, I just show one slide with a technical picture. But what we have done is to select a use case which was part of the use case was already there. So we have an industrial use case, cleaning a packing machine from the industry. What we have done is to add an embedded IDS connector from Fraunhofer. Fraunhofer IDSA is one of our partners, and Fraunhofer IVV was one of the partners in the small project, you could say. So now we have an all IDS-based data sharing between the operator. He has an operator site, and he has an own operator cloud, because could have multiple sites where data is collected directly using an IDS connector on the machine, on a small embedded board. And the operator can decide to share his data with service providers who maybe can help him to use the machine, clean the machine. But it could also imagine that there could be a vendor on the backside which is interested also in data. But this vendor is selling his machine. You have a vendor cloud. Is selling a machine to multiple operators. And they, of course, want to keep most of their data secret because they are probably competitors. So you could decide as an operator, okay, I want to share some technical data, which is not that sensitive anymore, with the vendor, which can do, for example, condition-based maintenance on this data. And because the vendor then gets data from multiple operators, it will be able to make a machine model, do machine learning, and train that data. And then based on that, it could make predictions on when the machines are probably starting to fail or need maintenance without needing all the data collected from the machine. This machine is equipped with a lot of sensors, and the operator can decide which of these sensor data is shared with which of his partners. It could be providers or vendors. So this is our use case. And for example, both Fraunhofer and TNO have worked on doing the interaction between the two different implementations of a IDS connector. And also, that's where TNO is working on run apps in a controlled manner. So have inside a connector also workflow management and app orchestration to be able to run a script and then specify exactly when which app should start and which data flow is allowed to provide and receive. So you are in full control. And with the idea is maybe in future, if all the connectors are supporting this type of functionality, that the vendor could also say, I don't even need your data, just run your apps on your connector. So you only give the results of the machine learning models, and then I can tell you when the machine should be repaired or maintained. And then only give me the results of the app processing. These are kind of models you want to support. And hopefully this year we continue to work together to approve the usability of these adapter implementations. Yeah.
Joost, thank you so much. This is impressive work. Well, that is what I love about IDSA so much. You always stumble across new things, and I think this was really, really a deep dive on the implementation view of the connector. So not the high-level thing, but I think we should combine this with the presentation from Thomas Usländer. So really to witness how IDS could be brought to life and really be implemented. Thank you very much, Joost and the colleagues from TNO. Thank you. Great. So TNO is represented over there, so you can learn more from Joost and the colleagues. So I do see Matthijs and Martin, and well, Mike was also around the other day, so you can drop on any question there. So if we left anything open, so we are not at the end, so I should also ask Sonja and Sebastian for the IDSA stuff on stage, right? But if you want to know more on all IDSA stuff, on June the 9th we have our regular Q&A session. We have them on a bi-weekly sequence, I think. Julia and Antoine will answer all your questions. So you can register there and get in touch with us virtually or discuss. So Julia is here, so say hello. Good. And so now we want to move over to the launch of the certification and the reference architecture model 4. So perhaps I may ask Sebastian on stage. So you can see in our museum shop over there the reference architecture model version 4. So Sebastian, what is new? What is in there? What is cool? And what is still missing? Where do we need help to immediately start working on version 5?
Yeah, thank you so much, Lars. So I prepared something like 50 slides for that, but I only got 3 minutes. So the major 3 points for reference architecture model 4, no major changes. We just continued, we improved things, we want to start certification, so we had to close some gaps that we found in the certification aspect. We just continued our work basically. But then, yes, there are big changes inside already. So one important aspect is cloudification. And I think all of you have a clue why we are talking about cloudification. There is this Gaia Xing on the one hand side, and we have things like the Eclipse Data Space Connector, which is important for us. So we are already aligning things and aligning technologies, aligning concepts, and therefore cloudification is important. Starting with decentralization, so you'll find some decentralized aspects in the IDS reference architecture model right now. But you will also find the distinguishing between, for example, the control pane and the data pane that we have to use to exchange data in a good manner. So these are new and interesting things. You can learn more about this. And the third important aspect is, well, there's no paper here. So we don't print the reference architecture model 4 anymore, and this is really important thing. So of course it's only for sustainability. No, it's not. Of course it is important, but we have to speed up with the development. So we are going to continuously maintain the reference architecture model and all the specification online in GitHub. So read it on GitHub. If you find something, if you want to improve something, just raise an issue there and we can all together continue working on that. And this is exactly my call to action to all of you. Join us in the collaboration and build the reference architecture model 4, 5, and so on and so forth on a continuous basis. And so what's missing? Well, I think there is a lot of things to do in every nitty-gritty layer of the IDS reference architecture model. There are open things that we are doing. We are starting in the function layer, for example, with the IDS rulebook, starting back on all over again with the function requirement that we have. So we didn't look on those for something like 3 years. Now we are refreshing them in the rulebook area, but we are also including new things in every other layer. So just join us and co-create the reference architecture model with us.
So, see you in the internet when working on the reference architecture model. it's also there displayed on one of the tablets. And then let's move to the climax of today and the most important thing. We are here to launch finally the IDSA certification scheme, and well, we have done a lot of work in the last years and in the last year setting up the reference testbed. You can see the testbed in these neat little boxes over there. Thanks to Arian, he has brought the whole testbed in one device. This is great. So it's the left one. So I'll check if it's there afterwards. But you can download it also. You can use it, so you don't have to steal the device, right? But it is there. It's existing, right? You can really take your connector, whatever you are building, and check if it's compatible with the testbed. And this is like the core part of the certification scheme. And for that, I would like to ask Sonia to join me on stage. Sonia Jimenez, she's responsible for the certification strand in IDSA head office, and well, let us know what is there, why is it so cool, and what can we do now with this beast of certification.
Thanks a lot, Lars. So yes, this is the key message that I want to give you today, that the IDS certification version 1 is ready. Today is the go live, so you're exactly, yeah. It's a very, very exciting moment for all of us, for us from the head office and also from our partners who invested a lot of time and effort to make this happen. So yeah, very, very, very excited to be the one to explain this today. And now I'm going to explain why. Maybe somebody is wondering, why is it so important? Why do we need something like the certification? Okay, so you've seen very cool initiatives here of that are realized because companies share data. When companies are willing to share data, because they can then realize the full potential, they can benefit from it. They can improve their processes, they can reduce cost, and so on and so on. But if we ask companies to share data, they will ask us, yeah, but I will do it only if I can do that in a trusted environment. So that's why we created this certification scheme. So here you see the 3 main pillars of the IDS. So as you know, it's already explained, we offer unlimited interoperability from the technical perspective, semantic perspective, and so on. We offer governance for the data economy, and right in the middle you see we bring trust to the data ecosystem. We bring trust to partners who want to share data. And the way we do this is by our means of our certification scheme, which is, as I said, launched today. Okay, so yes, why is it so important? So yeah, to be able to share data with unknown partners. So we're going to enter data spaces, hopefully very big data spaces with many different companies that are willing to share data. And it's not possible to know anyone who's there sharing data. So the only way we can make sure that we can enter a secure data space is if we set up the same conditions to join this data space for everyone. And these conditions are the certification of the components that are used for data sharing, and the certification of the operational environments where these components are running. So this is an overview on what our certification scheme is based on. So we have adopted security criteria, so standards from the ISO, IEC. Also, we have increased the security by adding some more criteria, like the CSA cloud controls. And on top of it, we've specified specific criteria for the IDS components, which is on the right-hand side, things like data usage control, communication security, information model, identity management, and so on. We offer 2 types of certification. So one is for the IDS components, and the second one is for the operational environment where these components are running at. And this tests things like physical environment, defined processes, and organizational rules. And it's important to mention that both things are required in order to participate in a data space. So the components handling the data have to be certified, and the operational environment where these components are running also need to be certified. We're launching with certification version 1 2 different assurance levels. both for the operational environments and for the components. And the difference are, so assurance level 1 is like the entry level for certification, and it consists of self-assessment. With assurance level 2, we increase the security of the certification, and that means we need a third party, so we will have evaluation facilities who will be the ones certifying that that connector, that operational environment is trustworthy. Okay. Here, Lars already presented it. This is a very key asset for certification. This is the preparation tool for the component certification. It is a setup with these IDS components that you see here. They're all open source, so we have 2 data space connectors, a broker, a certificate authority, and a DApps for identity management. And it's available on GitHub. The repository is public, and we have described how to use it and how to bring another connector connected to the rest of the components and test it. And this is, as I said, preparation tool for certification. This is also for the evaluation facilities to evaluate the components there. But this is also important. It can be an asset, a starting point in order to create a data space, because it's a setup that is easily, it can be easily installed. It's all described how to do it. And as I said, it's publicly available on GitHub. For assurance level 1 certification, as I said, it consists of a self-assessment. For the component certification is based on the results of the testing in the IDS reference testbed, and we have created a certification portal, so whoever applies for certification would have access to this portal, and the certification will be conducted there. For the second assurance level, so we need a third party, we need an evaluation facility that will conduct all the tests. For component certification, we have 2 evaluation facilities in place. So we have ZIC again from Germany and SQS from Spain. Begoña from Spain from SQS Spain is here. Say hi, Begoña. And these 2 companies have gone through a process to become evaluation facilities. So first of all, they are experts on the IDS architecture and the components, and they have proof. They have the personnel and the skills and the security. They meet their security requirements in order to conduct the certification. All the information related to certification can be found in our website, so in our homepage. There we have an explanation of the certification process. You can find the link to the IDS reference testbed GitHub repository. You can find the IDS certification criteria catalogs for components and for operational environments. These are very important documents when preparing for certification. And you can also find a paper that describes the framework for the IDS certification scheme. Okay, yes, and we have a second very important announcement to make today. So not only is certification ready, but we have created this acceleration campaign, because of course we want to speed this up and to have as many certified connectors as possible. So this IDS certification award will run, it's starting now, and will run for approximately a month. And anyone who has a connector that is ready to be certified according to the criteria that's been specified can be eligible to win this 20,000 euro award for the second assurance level certification for the concept review. So they will be able to take the award and bring it to choose one of the evaluation facilities and get the connector tested and certified. So yes, I think very important for all those of you who might be interested in certifying a connector. So don't miss the opportunity to win this very big award. And yes, so that'd be it from my side. Did you want to add something else, Lars? No? Okay, then thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonia, and well, the whole team which has been working on making certification finally ready. So thank you, the working group certification members. Thanks to the evaluation facilities. Thanks to the head office team which has been working on the different work streams for certification. So this is definitely a milestone in our certification process, but well, at the end, it starts now. So we have to see that certification really becomes a value. So that if well, you as a company get asked, so well, yes, I want to consume your data, but do you have an IDS certified connector? Well, that should be the habit in the future. And if you ask for a valuable data set, so and will you transfer it via an IDS certified connector? So that is how it should look like in the future. So let's go this next step. I'm so happy that certification will be used in mobility data space context. So then we can learn a lot there. And hopefully it will be well seen and used and taken up in different data space endeavors in different domains. So in the Netherlands, in Spain, let's make this really a value in trustworthy data sharing, because this is something which has been missing. So really a clear statement. Okay, I really have data sovereignty built in. There's trust built in. My solution, it's trustworthy by design. So I think we've touched everything. I think we have shown everything on our booth. If you find something which we did not explain, we will do it later on. I think we are complete. That was impressive, so for me at least. And thank you once again to the whole team from the IDSA head office, to all our partners, to the co-exhibitors, to all the great data space initiatives which really make data economy a reality and definitely a desirable future. So let's celebrate this. Let's step into this bright future. Let's co-create it. Let's have a coffee, some cake with it, and let's continue chatting. Let's come closer, have a look at the exhibits, squeeze all the presentators here and ask them the nasty questions. So let's have a nice afternoon. Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure to work with you, and well, have a great day. Thanks a lot. Take care. Goodbye.